Episode 82, Movie Sequels. Hello and welcome to this episode of 5 to 1. 5 to 1 is all about the countdown from our panel of experts on a different topic each episode. Today, we are featuring the best sequels in our style of counting down from
to 1.
Turn your mics on. In our style of counting down from
5 to 1.
Hey, we got it. Look at us getting another episode out so quickly. Finally. I was thinking
back on track.
Yeah, I was thinking about this recently because we've had this show now 4.5 years. 4.5 years.
That's crazy.
And we've had 81 episodes, so that's 1.5 episodes per month.
Okay.
We're going to get
which isn't great.
100.
Yeah, we'll be at 100 soon. But at 1.5 episodes per month, we've been at a much lower rate than that for like a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like for example,
It's been like 0 a month for the past couple months.
Yeah, but like here's to like emphasize that point. I was listening to our last episode on 2020 memories, and when it ended, it went back to the like last episode I had in my queue, which was episode 74, Crimes to Commit. Mm-hmm. Only 7 episodes prior, but Jet's voice sounded like a baby. So that shows that we have not been recording very often, just 7 episodes prior. But the thing is, though, that means we had to be like really fast and furious at the beginning. And at the beginning, we were like one a week.
Mm-hmm. We stuck with it for a while.
We were too fast and too furious.
Oh, I wonder if that made anybody's list. But to have an overall average of 1.5 per month, even after we've been like so horrible, we must have been really good at first. So I think we should try to maintain that average because we've been below it. We keep dragging it down. We should try to stay at about 1.5 per month because that means some months we'll have 1, some months we'll have 2. That's pretty good.
We should just try to do 2 every month.
Okay. But,
that's fair.
Yeah. So February looks like a 2-episode month.
Wait, what's like the correct way to pronounce?
February.
Mm-hmm.
There's an R in there.
I know.
So it looks like a 2-episode month, which is really exciting. And you know what else is exciting? Sequels!
Yes.
They're dangerous, though. When you really love a movie and it does well in the box office and a sequel is announced, the first feeling is kind of excitement, right? More of what you love. But sometimes it comes with a sense of dread, fear that the sequel won't live up to the original, and in some cases, even detract from the overall franchise experience.
Yep.
And some franchises live way too long. Sometimes, though, they nail the sequel, and not only do they live up to the expectations, but they enhance the overall story and make the franchise stronger, and in some rare cases, exceed the greatness of the original. Those are the sequels we are going to be talking about today. But before we get much further, before we introduce ourselves, do you guys know what that song was I played in the beginning? Mm-hmm. What song is it?
I have no idea. I have to hear it again.
Did I already ask you this, Jet? I did already ask you this, didn't I?
Ask me what.
Well,
what that song
again.
was?
No.
Okay.
Well, I know the song. I don't know what it's called.
It's a remix.
I know.
What's the song name?
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Weezer?
No, it's by Blur.
Song 2?
Song 2. Why did I pick Song 2 for this
Because it's
episode?
the sequel to Song 1.
It's the sequel!
But what's Song 1?
I don't know what Song 1 is, but I had a really hard time thinking of a theme song for sequels that wasn't a movie that might be on our list or whatever, so I felt really proud of myself when I thought of that. Yeah, that's Blur Song 2, but a remix. All right, now we can introduce our panel of sequel experts. I'm CK. I'm joined by my 2 sons.
Cade Moore.
That's the original, my 16-year-old.
Jet Moore.
That's Cade's sequel, and my 14-year-old, and we are 5 to 1.
I like that name for Jet.
Cade's sequel?
Yeah. Because sequels
usually when I like
off the first.
Jet, you're at the top of my sequel list.
Well, I'm your only sequel.
Oh, but there's lots of other little brothers and sisters out in the world.
Yeah.
You're my favorite little brother or sister. Don't tell my sister.
Does she listen?
No, I don't think. Well, she has before, but I don't think regularly. I'm 40, BT Dubs, and I am the director of this 2-part franchise.
You don't do any of the work.
I meant of you guys. You guys are the two-part franchise. I'm your director. And I do all the work for the show, so STFU. Feedback. All right, I actually got quite a bit of feedback from our last episode on 2020 memories. I'm going to try to go through it quickly because I don't want to take too much time, but it's some really good stuff, so I wanted to share it. First of all, Burger PDX on Instagram said, great episode. The more personal ones are always my faves. He was also fond of me trashing Evan's Mario Kart skills, as were all the rest of my roommates, college roommates. And Evan thinks that I cheat at Mario Kart because I use jump turns.
That's how you use drift.
What I'm saying is that's like saying people cheat at football by passing the ball instead of running it every time, or people cheat at Street Fighter 2 by using Hadouken. Those are basic parts of the game. It's not cheating. So, Evan...
You know what I realized, though, is that like in the
you.
later Mario Karts, jump turning isn't always like as useful.
Yeah, I don't know. I played a few of them, but I'm a specialist on the original.
Everyone I play, except for the first one, is like when you jump turn, it doesn't really like slows you down more than it does help you turn.
Oh, well, I have different techniques.
I wonder if you'd be good at the new one.
I don't know.
I'm pretty good at Mario Kart 8. I'm alright.
There's
never
8
played.
of them?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
8's really fun, actually.
I've played Super Mario Kart, which was for the Super Nintendo, and I played the one that was on, I think it was Nintendo 64. I can't remember. That one was also very popular, even though it wasn't as good. Oh, and the other thing is Burger PDX wanted to know if he could watch Jet play Mortal Kombat on Twitch.
Yeah,
On
you should
Twitch?
start streaming, Jet.
If I could figure it out for sure.
All right, well, let's make that a goal. He wants to watch you play. Matt Lewinsky, who's also been a listener for a very long time. And what I love about Matt, this isn't related to his feedback, but when I ask for listener choices, Matt gives me a 5-1 and a worst.
Really?
Like he does the show in his comment. It's awesome, yeah. And he's always been highly participative with our listener choices, so we appreciate that. But Matt liked hearing Kay talk about getting crabs in Maryland. Lane Johnson left a really nice message. He drove down to San Antonio. Oh, let me read what he said. I drove down to San Antonio yesterday. Was absolutely thrilled when I saw there was a new 5-1. Loved getting to listen to you guys, as I always do. He said some other nice things about my health and Rudy, the movie, having a great soundtrack, and concluded with, you made my day when I saw the new episode drop. We want more. So, heard.
Thank you, but yes, we will.
Yeah. Carly Sherrard, who we talked about in our last episode, she was beating stage 4 cancer, you might remember. She thanked us for thinking of her, and we're all rooting for you, Carly. Darren Yee sent me a text that tugged on all my heartstrings. He said, just to let you know, I hope my boys turn out half as great as yours. You've done a great job with them. So, hold on. I got a little dust in my eye.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was really nice, Darren, for real. And my own feedback, that was one of my very favorite episodes when I went back and listened. It was really fun to listen to.
Last one?
Jet.
It was fun.
All right, so I guess it's time for our list. Before we get started, did you have any rules for your list or anything you want to talk about?
It has.
Okay, so I asked you, what is a sequel? I mean, I know what a sequel is, but like, what counts to be a sequel? And I'm only including movies like that came directly after the first one. Nothing like.
So, like, no third installment.
Yeah.
Yeah, or no sequels to sequels. I did the same
I
for
have
mine.
sequels to sequels.
Then that's fine. I left it open for interpretation on purpose. For mine, I did only direct sequels to an original also. And I also like, so for example, if I like Die Hard 5, which I don't, it couldn't make my list. With that criteria, my choices had to do one of the following. It either had to have a really big expectation based on the original and live up to that expectation or exceed it or exceed the original. Like that, those would all qualify to make the franchise better. Except for one of my choices, I just wanted to include for sentimental reasons, and I'm allowed to do that because it's my list. However, I actually took that choice off my list, and I'm not sure what to do now because Jet has it on his, and I wanted it to be like a
I feel like
unique one.
a lot of these choices are going to be on each other's list.
Well, I've left my number 4 spot open right now, and what I'm going to do is either decide in the moment, okay, I'm picking this for number 4 because I have a list that I'm kind of deciding between, or I will wait for you guys to finish and then go pick one that you didn't talk about.
Okay.
I might do that. I don't know. Anyways, let's get started. Cade, what's your
Number 5.
Back to the Future Part 2.
BTTF2? Talk
I
about.
actually wrote it like that in my notes.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Why is that your number 5?
Well, I don't remember a lot of the movie because I haven't seen it in forever, but I remember loving it.
I like Back to the Future 2 as a sequel choice because sequels were different in the 80s than they are now, in the sense that first of all, every movie now is a sequel. And number two, a lot of the movies now that are coming out are like planned sequels.
Yeah.
Whereas in the 80s, it's like the first one did really well.
So we
and
have more money.
We have more money, and there's demand for it, and fans want to see it. So let's make a sequel. So they weren't planned, so they're kind of like, I don't know, like they have to be clever in the way that they wove it into the story. And Back to the Future 2 is a perfect example of that, and they did a pretty good job. I sometimes criticize that movie because it's not nearly as good as the original, but it is. They did do a really good job.
What I feel like happens a lot of time, like, is a movie when it comes out, it'll do really good, and they have all this money to make another one, and like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of ruined with that money. They spend too much money on like CGI or something like that, or
Right.
Doing scenes that aren't as entertaining because it's like good story or whatever. It's just like cool to look at.
Yeah.
The second one it feels fresh enough because they go to the future, so it's a lot different. And the only problem is that they repeat a lot of the same tropes from the first one. I guess it's fine seeing on the first viewing, but by the third movie, it's just very like hard to watch.
It's almost like formulaic.
Yeah.
Like they're using the same ideas and same lines,
Same quotes, same music,
same actor.
Yeah.
Like Michael J. Fox plays his own like great grandfather, and I think he plays his own daughter
Also,
in the second one, doesn't he?
Does he actually?
I don't know.
I think it's like him with a wig.
Because Biff, he plays Griff, who is like related to Biff in some way.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bully in the second movie. Then in the third movie, the main bad guy
Buford.
is also played by Biff.
I think it's Buford
So the main bad guy in all three movies
is the same guy.
is the same dude.
Yeah, same actor even. Yeah, it gets a bit formulaic, but I did like the ideas they did with the second one, and they handled the time travel part well, which is tricky to do. So I like that choice. I considered it for mine, but it didn't quite make my list.
Okay.
All right, Jet, what do you got for number 5?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah, this is the one I took off my list. Why don't you talk about why?
This is definitely not the best movie out of my top 5, but it's one of my favorites for sure. And honestly, I think it's just one of the most fun movies to watch ever.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I had it on my list because I kind of broke my own rule. It doesn't surpass the original in the quality of the movie. Like the first movie's better. However, and in addition to that, it's not like it had much hype to live up to, and it didn't even live up to the hype that it did live up or was supposed to live up to. It's not a great movie.
What did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles start off as?
I think it was a comic book
Yeah,
first,
it was
and then it
comic.
was a cartoon, and then the movie came out in '89, and I think the sequel was in '91.
When did it blow up? What, like the comic or like the TV show?
The TV show was very popular.
The comics are pretty popular too now, at least. I don't know.
I don't think they were. I don't remember them when I was a kid. Maybe they were. I wasn't really reading comics when I was really little. I remember the cartoon for sure, and the movies were gigantic for me anyway. It's not a great movie though, but it's really fun. I loved it when it came out. Rewatching it as an adult, it doesn't really hold up as well, but lots of nostalgia. It makes me want to eat pizza. It has the song. Or I should have played this, I guess, because this is what I had set up for my choices. It has Vanilla Ice in the movie.
Go Ninja.
That's pretty amazing. Because he was extremely popular at that time. And
This is a great song.
This is a really good song. It is a good song. Ninja Rap. And
the performance was cool in the movie too.
it was, yeah.
It was a cool scene.
It was cool with the fight sequence with Super Shredder. So when I was 10, this was really cool. And I don't know, Vanilla Ice was cool when I was 10. That was at like the
He's
peak
still
of his...
cool. He's still cool to me.
I mean, I don't know.
This movie, I already love it, but I would love it so much more and actually consider it an okay movie if Tokar and Razor weren't in it.
Yeah, I know. First of all, Ninja Turtles already had characters like that.
Rockstar and Bebop.
Bebop and Rocksteady.
It's been a while.
Yeah. And they might have been weird too to bring in, but like, why bring other ones in that are just as weird or maybe even more weird?
And it's also weird that both of those characters are like the turtles because they have ooze in them. But one of them's a turtle.
Yeah, another turtle. Right?
He's like
You could have
cute.
picked like any other animal. Why pick another turtle? The one positive about this movie though besides Vanilla Ice, was I really like Kino, the pizza delivery ninja guy. I like him more than Casey Jones, and I know that's kind of like blasphemous for people who are Ninja Turtles fans because everybody loves Casey Jones.
I'm not a huge fan of Casey Jones.
I didn't like him that much either, at least not in the movie. And Kino was awesome. He was like a ninja and a pizza delivery guy. So Casey Jones was just kind of an asshole. All right. Anything else to say about Ninja Turtles, Jet? That you stole from my list. All right, I'll stop this song because I'm going to play songs for mine, and you guys get to guess what they are. So this is my number 5.
Empire Strikes Back.
My number 5
Number
is the
5?
Empire Strikes Back.
That's
yes.
my number 3.
Okay. How could this possibly be all the way down at number 5 for me? It's The Empire Strikes Back. It's probably the greatest sequel of all time. And obviously we are all gigantic fans of the Star Wars franchise. However, I have this one this low because A New Hope is like equally as great to me.
I was going to say that Empire, it's definitely my favorite movie on this list, and it's definitely the best. But the perfect sequel to me, like, improves greatly from the first movie. I think it improves a lot on A New Hope, but A New Hope is, like, almost there for me.
Yeah, they're like really close. It's hard to say which one is better. Empire has become the most beloved for sure, and there are times like right now it has been my favorite since we saw it in theaters last August or September, whatever it was. But I don't know. A lot of times A New Hope is my favorite. It's just too close of a call for me to have it be number 1 for the purpose of this list because of what Jet said. So I agree with that. So the greatest sequel of all time is number 5 on my list because I'm super smart. All right, I'll stop the song there. All right, Cade, what is your
Number 4.
Temple of Doom.
Interesting. Ooh. Okay, so let's talk about Temple of Doom. Why is that your number 4?
I think okay, never mind. I retract that statement. I was about to say it stood out to me more than any other Indiana Jones movie.
If you said that, I wouldn't disagree with you necessarily.
It definitely stands out the most, in my opinion.
But like in a good way. Like I remember that movie after I watched it for a very long time.
So the Temple of Doom for a long time was like kind of hated amongst the first 3. Now there is a huge fan following for it. Mm-hmm. It's aged well, except for the fact that it's like kind of racist in some ways with the characterization of some of the characters. But outside of that, a lot of people really like it. And a fun thing about it is Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, sorry, it took me a minute, were both going through like painful divorces at the time. And they met in Hawaii and decided to like kind of, let's talk about doing Indiana Jones 2. And they came up with the idea for it. And both of them were just like in a really dark place in their lives, you know? And this movie is super dark. I mean, it's really like kids beating up each other, ripping the heart out of people.
The slaves.
Yeah, the child labor and all the slaves and all that. It's super dark. And it does stand out a lot. It has, I think, more memorable quotes than the other movies do.
A lot of scenes in this movie would scare me as a kid.
Yeah.
The 2 that stood out the most to me is when Indiana Jones hit Short Round, when he was like, crazy from the stuff. I'm like, geez, he just hit Short Round.
The scariest part for me was a kid when that guy got crushed in the little rolling.
Oh, yeah. When he's on like the belt.
Yeah.
That crushes the rocks, and then Indy's fighting him, and he punches him, and he like falls down, and then the thing keeps rolling, his blood comes around on the other side.
The big dude from the first, like the big bald dude
in front of the plane.
Yeah, or that dude who got crushed.
I'm taking the big bald dude in front of the plane. That guy was a beast.
He was destroying Indy too.
Yeah,
but with no planes or machines around, just like straight up fist fight.
Yeah, the big bald dude. That's what
he was being Indy. That's the only way Indy won.
Yeah,
he got lucky.
It's part of Indy's charm is that he's lucky. Yeah, and Short Round is kind of a fun character. Willie is the blonde girl, the female lead in the movie, and she screams a lot.
Yeah, the screaming was kind of annoying.
Outside of the screaming, I like her character, but it was a little over the top.
I think
I didn't like the scene where she poured perfume all over the elephant.
Yeah.
I don't think the elephant wants to smell that perfume.
Where did she get the perfume from? They're in a plane that they had to like run to escape to. The plane is going to crash. They jump out. They have to use a raft. Yeah, like a
lifeboat.
Yes, that's
they're
inflatable.
Not sinking, they're falling.
Which, by the way, the whole scene is ridiculous, right? Mm-hmm. Like they fall out of a plane and then land on a mountain and then fall off the mountain into like off of a waterfall, and somehow they're all okay. But where does she get the perfume from?
Pocket.
maybe she keeps it in her pocket and it stayed in the whole time. I don't know.
I wish Indy didn't have a love interest in this movie. I think it would have been completely fine with just him in Short Round. I do like the other two love interests in 1 and 3.
Yeah.
But I don't think she was necessary at all in this movie. That's the only thing that brings it down, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I really like Temple of Doom. I think it's underrated at this. Even though a lot of people like it now, I still think it's underrated.
For
And
sure.
I have my WhatsApp over here with my group text, and they're WhatsApp.
What up? What are you talking about?
Shut up. And they're talking about Temple of Doom right now. I mean, they can't hear us, so they don't know. But they're saying they don't really like it. And
That's crazy.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't like it, but it has gained a lot of fans over the years, even though it was hated. And I think part of that is because number 4, the Crystal Skull, is really hated.
I don't really like it.
That one's fun to watch.
There are parts that I like, but I don't. On the whole, it's way lower than the other 3.
I don't know. I feel like all the supernatural things in all 3 work fine, but the aliens were just too dumb for me. I don't know why.
It was weird. And then the swinging on the vines through the jungle, and
That was bad.
yeah,
The ants.
the ants. Yeah, I mean,
That's the worst part.
you hate ants. And then the scene where he the nuclear atom bomb blows up and he flies like 1,000,000 miles in a refrigerator and just walks out like he's fine. Like, yeah, there were some problems with that movie.
I actually do like Shia LaBeouf in that movie,
He didn't bother me.
but
He bothered a lot of people though.
Is he generally more like hated or liked actor?
I think most people really dislike him.
I
But
think
I
as
don't
a
think
person,
yes, but I
they
think
don't
people
like
dislike him as a person because he's super obnoxious. As an actor, I don't really think he's that bad of an
Yeah,
actor. I
great
think he's
fashion
fine.
taste.
Does he? I
Yeah.
don't know.
He's like renowned for that.
I think he made a movie recently, like where he plays himself as his dad, and it's about him like being abused and stuff, and it got like high ratings.
Interesting. I have not followed his career.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about Temple of Doom?
Nope.
All right, Jet, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Harry Potter 3.
And the Prisoner of Azkaban.
I was going between this and Lord of the Rings 2,
Interesting. Okay.
but I went with Harry Potter because I like Harry Potter more, probably.
Interesting. All right. So this is my favorite Harry Potter movie,
Me too.
probably. Talk about it.
I think this movie perfectly matures the series without making it too dark. And I think all the sequels after this one have struggled with that.
Yeah.
Like 5 and like 6 and especially 7 are all just kind of dreadful to watch because they're so dark. Like
There's not a lot of happy moments anymore. Like,
yeah,
It lost that kind of like magical feel.
except for the last one, I think. But it's different.
Yeah.
I think the third one still has a lot of that like feeling from the first 2, with also it feels a lot different too. Like if they all followed the third one's formula, I think I would like Harry Potter as a franchise more.
Yeah. I think 3, you get a good mix of what you're saying from the first couple, where it's very happy and magical feeling, and some of the more adult aspects that you get in the later ones. And the story's really good. But you also get Hogsmeade.
And the time travel stuff is awesome.
The time travel stuff is cool. You get
Dementors.
the Dementors. You get the map.
Marauders
map. Yeah, so you get a lot of cool stuff. Hogsmeade was really cool. So I think that, I mean, it's my favorite one too. It didn't make my list because I only did direct sequels, but if I had done sequels to sequels, it would have made my list too.
Also, the characters in this movie, they kind of were amazing to me. Sirius Black and Remus Lupin, they were both amazing, but
Yeah.
they never really did anything with the sequels again. Like
Yeah.
Harry Potter and Sirius, their relationship was like special, you know.
It was
like his
serious.
Godfather.
Yeah.
And the 5th one, they killed him, but like they hardly did anything with him besides just kill him.
Right.
that was one of the saddest deaths.
It was only sad because of the
It
third
was,
movie.
It
Yeah.
was sad, but it could have been even sadder
Yeah.
if
I
they
agree.
just expanded upon it. Lupin just hardly shows up. I don't even remember how he dies.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Okay. A good choice for number 4. Should I just pick one for number 4?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go with... Man, this is hard. If I go by my formula, which is it makes the franchise better, I have a choice. But I think it's going to be on Jet's list. So I'm not going to pick it.
Okay.
So I'm going to go off my formula and just pick a sequel. And I'm going to go with Home Alone 2.
2, okay.
Is it on your list?
No.
Okay, good. I'll talk about this one. And I had a group of options here that are all kind of the same. That are like you wouldn't necessarily have expected them to have a sequel, but then the first one was really good and people liked it, so they made a sequel. And Home Alone 2 is one of those. It's not as good as the first one, clearly, and it's very formulaic.
Nothing is, though.
Yeah.
True. Nothing is, but it is very formulaic. It follows the exact same idea, except he's in New York instead of his own house. But it worked, and I did like it. I liked it enough when I was a kid to actually own a Talk Boy, like the little recording device he has where he can record people and then play it slower or faster, and he uses that a lot in the movie.
Yeah.
Like in the scene where he's pretending he's showering and the guy from the hotel walks in, and
he uses it to scare him off.
Yeah, and he does it like when he books the hotel room, he records his own voice and then plays it in slow motion so it's lower and it sounds like his dad. I had one of those. And Lane and I used to play on that thing all the time. So I have very fond memories of Home Alone 2. Clearly, it's not as good as the first one.
I would have picked the third one, but it's still a good pick.
I bet Predator 2 is the number one choice for your list.
I was going to wait till everyone
Predator
I was like,
2
where's Predator
is somewhere
2?
on my list.
Oh, there's a little spoiler alert. The worst. All right, so Home Alone 2 will end up being my number 4 choice, I guess. Thanks, Jet.
The only thing is, didn't he learn his lesson in the first movie, and then in the second movie when it happens again, he's just happy again?
Yeah, yes, you're right. He shouldn't be happy about it. However, he's in New York City with credit cards and cash and can do whatever he wants, and he's excited.
I'd be happy.
But you're right.
He went to the coolest toy store ever.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, that's it for my number 4. Cade, what's your
Number 3.
My number 3 is Too Fast, Too Furious.
Oh, I did make somebody's list.
I forgot you were going by this rule. Because I was going to say, wouldn't you pick 5 or 7?
No, and I wouldn't pick at those either. I'd pick 3.
Oh, you pick 3?
Yeah. The first 3 are the best.
The third one I would like a lot more, but none of the main characters are really in it.
You guys have lost me. I know somewhat what the first one's about, and then I know the 7th one was really big box office wise because Paul Walker had just died. Everything in between then, no clue.
All right. Well, 2 is a little more futuristic and a little more out there than number 1.
Okay.
And started going more into the action. They crashed a car into a boat at the end, and it's
okay.
no way that would ever happen, but it was still cool. But the cars in that movie.
Yeah.
There's some cool cars. Brian's Evo. And they actually had some of the worst cars too. Who's the black guy? The guy that used to be a singer.
Oh, Tyrese.
Tyrese, yeah. He drives the ugliest car of all time.
Yeah.
In that movie. And it's really funny because people always make fun of it for being just an ugly, stupid looking car. But they had some really cool cars in that movie. And it wasn't that bad.
I hear a lot of people
It's underrated.
like the 5th one and the 7th.
I don't know why anyone likes those more than the first 3.
Is the 5th one called Fast 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that one too, but I've never seen it.
Honestly, I like Fast 5 more than the first 3. I just feel like they're more entertaining, and plus the characters are they're embracing of what they are.
Yeah, if you're not really into cars, I wouldn't expect you to like Fast and Furious that much.
Yeah.
That's why I like the later ones, because they're more like WWE than cars.
Does anybody in the Fast and Furious universe drive a Z?
Yeah, there's a lot, actually.
Okay, 'cause
in the third one, there's DK. His name's Drift King.
Okay.
And he drives a really cool 350Z.
Okay, so we should update. Cade got his first car, and it's a 370Z. So
but you see a lot of them in there.
Yeah.
That's the first car, I know, what it is. Specifically.
You're like, is that an SUV?
No, it's BMW.
Sweet. Okay, so Too Fast, Too Furious.
Oh, and there's a really cool scene where they're on the highway, and they're weaving in and out of cars, and it's really fun being on the highway and weaving in and out of cars.
Yeah.
So it looks cool when they do it.
Don't do that.
You picked Too Fast and Too Furious over Cars 2?
I thought about Cars 2, but Too Fast, Too Furious is a better Cars movie than Cars 2. Wasn't that the first movie Jet saw in theaters?
Yes, it is.
What, in Cade's is Cars?
Yes, it was.
That's kind of funny, though.
Yeah.
And it's ironic that Cade's first movie was Cars.
Yeah, and he's way into cars now.
That's why.
Does Too Fast, Too Furious have Paul Walker and Vin Diesel? It's the same?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know one
There's
of them...
more characters, and then Yeah, there's less characters in the first one. It's like they
I know-
switch out the group.
I know at least one or two like doesn't have them in it. They're like
That's
It goes
3.
That's 3.
okay,
They're
That's-
like in Japan, but totally new. You only see Vin Diesel at the end for like 5 seconds.
okay.
3 has the best soundtrack of all the movies.
It does. And Pharrell Williams developed produced that song that's like, I
Happy?
wonder if you know. And they're like the car scene where they're like drifting.
Mm.
You've
Yeah, you definitely heard it.
You've heard it
It's
before.
It's
but
a
like,
great song.
Okay.
It's so
yeah.
catchy.
Wait, did you guys play it in the car recently?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought we talked about this.
maybe.
All
I
right.
don't know.
Well,
My number 3 is Empire.
you want to add anything else about Empire? Okay. My number 3 is another one that I switched, and I'll explain why, but I'll play the song and you guys try to guess what it is. If I can find it. Here it is. It's a very famous theme. I'm going to fast forward. Nothing? All right. It's The Godfather Part 2.
Haven't seen him.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that, but I would never think that you would pick that.
Well, let me explain how.
They're always on your worst.
No, I've never had Godfather in my worst.
I swear you've had him like twice
No.
for being overrated.
I do think it's a tad overrated. I'll explain. It's never been on my worst. That's The Dark Knight. I've had that in my worst. The Godfather. So initially in the spot, I had a different number 3 that I really wanted to use, and it was Silence of the Lambs.
That's a sequel?
That's why I wanted to use it, because that's what most people say. But I couldn't, in good conscience, keep it on my list because it's not really a sequel. Not really. There was a movie that Silence of the Lambs came out in 91. There was a movie that came out in 1986 called Manhunter. That's like from the same books. It's got Hannibal Lecter. It's earlier part in the story. So a lot of people think that Silence of the Lambs is a sequel to that. And I did too, up until like yesterday when I did a little bit of research. It's not really a sequel because when they made Silence of the Lambs, they actually considered changing characters' names to not have it associated with Manhunter. They had no intention on it continuing the storyline, even though it did. And then later they came out with Red Dragon, which is a prequel to Silence of the Lambs and totally overwrites Manhunter in that storyline. So basically what it is...
So what even is Manhunter like?
Now it's its own thing. It's just a standalone movie that's not really considered... It's like when Spider-Man reboots. It's like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is not part of the...
But what happens in Manhunter?
Oh, it's not a great movie, but it's like...
Does it have the same actor?
What is that? No, none of the actors are the same. There are some actors that are in both, but they don't play the same characters.
Should I watch Silence of the Lambs?
Oh yeah, absolutely, classic movie, and it's great, and it's so much better than Manhunter that I thought it would be a great choice for this list. But it's not
I'm
really
pretty
a sequel.
sure some of the sequels and stuff are good too, right? Like Lecter and stuff.
There's Red Dragon, which is a prequel, and there's
like one called Hannibal. Yeah,
it's called Hannibal. It's not that great.
Oh,
Silence of the Lambs though is amazing. So
Have you read the
instead,
book?
no, I haven't. I've not read the book. Instead, I went with The Godfather Part 2, and I had to choose it because it's absolutely a classic, and it's widely considered one of the greatest movies of all time. And I knew neither one of you would have it, so we'd be doing a disservice by not talking about it in some fashion. And I'll be honest, like Cade said, I've always been in the camp that Godfather is a tad overrated, but only not because it's not great. It's amazing, but is it the best movie of all time? Is the sequel the second best movie of all time? I don't know. Those are awfully big statements to say the two greatest movies of all time are The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. So I've always felt like, yeah, it's a little bit overrated because of that. But the greatness can't be denied. And also, I got to confess this, I've only seen each of them once. And
Really?
it was a long time ago. And that's because I don't find them particularly rewatchable. They're like heavy, the plot is heavy and they're long. I have a lot of movies that I love that I don't think are rewatchable. But I will say it's a shame that we haven't watched them together yet, so we need to fix that. And maybe a rewatch will further cement them in my movie pantheon. Also worth noting, it's the only sequel ever to win the Oscar for Best Picture.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's obviously a great movie, and it needed to be somewhere on the list. So,
does it have the same characters?
Yeah. Yeah, so the first one follows Michael Corleone, who's Al Pacino, and it's great. Like, it's a great movie. It's like... I'm not going to tell you the plot here because we need to watch it, but it's really, really good. The second movie continues his storyline, but then also weaves in his father's storyline, who's played by Marlon Brando. And you get to you get like all of the background of how their family became to be who they are while they continue the story from the first one. It's done really well.
That sounds like unique.
Yeah, I mean, it's very good. It's very good. Okay, so that's my number 3, but I'll leave it at that. Cade, what is your
Number 2.
T2.
Okay.
Terminator 2.
Good choice. Good choice.
Judgment Day. It's
Why-
definitely better than 1.
Yes,
So it follows that criteria. It did make the franchise a lot better.
for sure.
And it's honestly like,
This is my
it's
number
a
1.
legendary movie.
Okay.
I assume that.
It's not my favorite on my list. Empire is, but it is definitely, in my opinion, like way better than the first one. And it is a perfect sequel.
Okay.
People have said this before. There's no such thing as a perfect movie because there'll always be something wrong, whether it's a plot hole or this or that. But there can be a perfect sequel or just improves on the first one in every way. I think T2 is that.
Yeah, I agree.
Only one part scared me when I was little, and that was the nuclear blast. And her,
In the very beginning.
yeah, and her, what's it
The
called?
gate.
Her like body turned into a skeleton. Like,
Yeah.
That's a scary
that,
scene.
it was,
Yeah.
yeah, that got me scared.
Yeah. Jet, you've always loved Terminator.
I love the role reversal of Arnold too.
Yeah, that was really well done because I when I watch it now,
It holds up really well too.
it does, and when I watch it now, like that character that Arnold plays, the T-800 in that movie, has become what I view Terminator as. It's not the one from the original.
No.
He's not a bad guy. He's a good guy. But when you watched it initially, and you guys don't know this because you weren't around. Even the way they introed the characters, it still made Arnold look like the bad guy in
Yeah,
the
and it
beginning
made
of
it
the movie.
look like the cop. Well, actually, didn't make him look like the good guy either.
No, but it made Arnold look like a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, he came in and beat the crap out of everybody in that pool hall, and
I need your clothes, your
yeah,
boots, and
stole
motorcycle.
yeah. And it made him look like the bad guy still. So then when you found out he was the good guy, it was a role reversal that was kind of surprising.
And the cop, or the T-1000, is actually like threatening too. Like a lot of the scenes he's in.
Yeah.
That one, another scene that used to scare me when he like comes from the ground and turns into the other dude with the mustache, like getting coffee,
Oh, when they were in the asylum.
and then his finger like stabs him through the eye.
Yeah.
That scene scared me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good choice.
Oh, and when he kills the dog. I don't like that part.
Yeah.
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 Like he had.
What's the
there
dog's
was
name? Do y'all know?
Oh no idea.
Wolfie.
Was it actually?
I think so.
I don't think that's right.
I think they asked him.
I think it's right.
I don't know if that's right.
Isn't that-
Wait,
isn't
is
that-
that the fake name?
I think that may be the fake name.
How's Wolfie? And then,
And then he says, "Well,
he's fine. And
Yeah.
he's like, he's lying.
Yeah. What's the
Um,
real name?
I don't think they ever say the real name.
No, because he says, "What's your dog's name?" And he's like, "Blah blah blah." And so then he goes, "How's Wolfie?"
Okay, wait, then that's the real name. Wait, oh, okay. I was confused. So, Terminator says the wrong name. John Connor says the real name.
Yes, but what's the real name and what's the fake name?
Wolfie's the fake name.
I don't think
What's-
that, is the fake name really Wolfie?
I
What's
think
the
it's
real
Wolfie. Search it up.
Talks amongst yourselves while I look this up.
Okay, every time you make a name for something, you just like you take the
Put
actual
Y at the
like,
end of
word.
it?
Yeah, you put the Y at the end of it. So if it's like a turtle, you'll be like,
I
oh, it's
think
like
Wolf-
Shelly.
It's Wolfie. Well, I'm right that Wolfie was one of them.
Max is the dog's name, and then Wolfie was the
So I
fake
was
name
right.
they used.
I was right.
No,
Wait, what? Yes, I was. I said Wolfie was a fake name.
not initially. I corrected you to that.
Hey, you said what's a dog's name?
But then
And
I
you said it's
corrected
Wolfie.
I corrected myself.
So after you,
I
were
was right.
corrected-
I was right.
Okay. All right. You know what I have to say about that?
Good job.
No, put your headphones on and I'll play it for you. First, I'll just say,
Moving on.
but really,
I love pooping.
I'll save that from the last episode.
I do love pooping.
That'll be one we use from time to time. All right, so that was Cade's number 2,
Yep.
correct? What's your number 2, Jet?
Oh, my number 2.
Speaking of number 2,
I love pooping. Why'd you clip that?
that's funny.
Oh, Indiana Jones 3.
And The Last Crusade. Okay,
So this is when I broke my rule.
what rule did you break?
Well, I never made a rule, but mine is different from yours.
You broke our
Okay.
rules.
Sequel to
Okay,
sequel.
so talk about why The Last Crusade is your number 2.
I think this is definitely the best Indiana Jones movie. I think it's a lot better than the first one because besides the first act of the first one, to me, nothing ever really reaches the excitement of the first one.
Yeah.
The third movie has my favorite like opening in any movie ever. Young Indy is so like genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, how he gets a scar, his hat, and how it's just really exciting to
whip.
watch. Yeah, and how it weaves into the plot.
Yeah. And played by River Phoenix,
Yeah,
which was cool. Yeah.
I like River Phoenix.
I think it has the coolest story out of
Yeah.
all three of them. Like the arc, like finding the Ark of the Covenant. I mean, that's pretty cool.
And I think
Ark of the Covenant is the first one. Raiders of the Lost Ark. This one is the Holy Grail.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah,
with
never mind. The Holy-
and I think the third act is easily the best out of all three movies too.
Yeah.
The trials are like when he's like
The Penitential Pass. The Penitential
the leap
Pass.
of faith.
Yeah.
Also, how did he guess the cup though? Like he
It was a
Jesus was a
carpenter's cup.
carpenter.
it's just so plain looking.
'Cause
He
he
He was a
picked
carpenter.
he just picked that one and that was it.
Yeah. You have
chosen wisely.
Wisely. Yeah.
So I also like the love interest. I don't like her as much as the first one, but
Is it Elsa?
yeah, she's kind of on her own side. But
Yeah.
it was interesting in the movie.
It's interesting
It's kinda
because she
weird
was
that
with her father
yeah,
and with
That's
Indy.
what I was about to say. That part's kind
I
of
was the next man.
And they like joke about it a lot too.
Yeah.
I just think it's a great sequel.
Agreed. I agree.
And Temple of Doom is more like a prequel if you think about it.
It is. You're right. All right, you ready for my number 2?
Yep.
What do you think my number 2 is?
Indiana Jones 2.
No, it is not. It is The Last Crusade.
But but you broke
Yeah,
the
you
rule.
broke your
oh,
rule.
did I? Or is Temple of Doom a prequel?
Well,
No, Temple of
This-
Doom's a sequel.
No, it's not. It happens before.
I know, but it,
It is not a sequel.
yeah, it's
The Last Crusade is the first sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Even though it was released as the third movie, it was the first sequel. So I did not break my rule. And The Last Crusade qualifies. And I'm really happy about that because, in my opinion, it's better than Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I agree.
The group chat over here on WhatsApp is also saying that The Last Crusade is not as good as Raiders. And most people agree with that. I don't. I like The Last Crusade better. The first is a classic for sure. But The Last Crusade is my favorite. It has Sean Connery, which I thought was really cool. They wove in the story of Indy's father, and he was amazing in that role. The story of them chasing the Holy Grail was an amazing follow-up to kind of the supernatural / biblical theme started in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Also, they needed to like spice things up a bit.
Yeah.
So adding his dad
Yeah, it
is
was
really good.
it was perfect, and I do love the opening sequence to Raiders is amazing. I actually like it better than the opening sequence to The Last Crusade.
I do not.
But outside of the opening sequence, I like the rest of The Last Crusade better.
I think The Last Crusade's opening sequence is like the perfect way to open a movie. Right in the middle of the action with story and like some sets up the plot really well. I think The Last Crusade does that perfectly.
Yeah, Raiders had a lot of action right at the start too. They go get the idol and have to escape the big boulder.
Yeah, but the rest of the movie never lives up to that, is what I'm saying.
I agree, actually. But yeah, so Last Crusade is my favorite of the franchise and is my number 2 sequel of all time. All right, so let's move on to Cade. What is your...
Number 1.
I had Attack of the Clones, but it was actually Empire. But we already talked about it, so yeah.
Anything you want to add about Empire?
I really almost chose Attack of the Clones.
Why?
I don't know.
Just to be different?
Yeah, because like it's underrated.
Yeah, maybe.
People hate on it too much than it does, and it deserves more love.
Okay.
I think Django deserves more love, and he could probably beat Mando and Boba.
Django Fett. I was like, what movie? Are you, Django Unchained? Okay.
I heard that movie's really good.
Yeah, but I didn't know what you were talking about at first. So you think Django Fett is underrated?
But, oh yeah, Django's the most, he's the strongest Mandalorian. Well, even if,
Of all time? You
out
sure
of
about
all
that one?
three, by
Bob-
far.
Boba.
No.
Even especially after he made his appearance in the
And
Mandalorian.
Mando, he just killed a couple stormtroopers. Stormtroopers are useless, bro. Anyone can kill a stormtrooper.
Who did Django kill?
He almost beat Obi-Wan.
Almost.
Not even almost.
Almost.
You wait. You kept saying that, and then you went and rewatched. You're like, okay, I
That's
was wrong.
not what I said.
Obi-Wan
That's
actually
not
kicked
what
his
I
ass.
said. I
Yeah.
said Obi-Wan. It was about even, the fight.
Okay, come on. Was it really?
But Django was like, at first he was like kicking his ass.
No, Obi-Wan killed him. The only reason Obi-Wan didn't kill him right away is because Boba, the strongest of them, was in the
Dude,
ship.
he's like 6.
I know, and he's the reason that Jango even fled and escaped because he was shooting at Obi from his ship. Not fair.
People argue, well, he got killed by like Mace Windu in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Mace Windu is stronger than Palpatine, maybe. So that's not surprising to me.
I don't know. Mace Windu didn't kill Boba.
I honestly think Mando is the weakest out of all of them.
Agreed.
I think he's just too inexperienced.
Inexperienced, yeah.
But even if you're not going off the Obi-Wan thing I said, you have to know Boba is at least somewhat competent because they chose him to make a million clones out of.
Sure. Just Boba's better.
He's cooler,
And better.
not stronger.
Stronger for sure.
Definitely not stronger.
Agree to disagree. All right. So that Empire's your number one.
Yep.
Anything else about Empire?
What's
All right.
your number one?
What's your number one?
T2.
My number one here. I'll play you the song, and you have to guess. This is so pointless at this point.
Terminator 2.
My number one is Terminator 2, and actually, I'm surprised I left a movie off. I left Aliens off, which is an incredible
It's an
sequel.
honorable mention for me.
I thought it would be on Jet's list. But I kind of have Terminator 2 and Aliens in the same category in some aspects because
They're both action, sci-fi action.
that followed a
and
movie
the first
that was,
one was sci-fi horror for both of them,
agreed.
in my opinion.
Exactly right. And and the same director.
And they're both the first Terminator's kind of slasher-like,
yeah.
and first
I think
Alien.
I saw T2 before I saw Terminator 1.
I think a lot of people see T2 first
Yeah.
at this point.
I don't think you really need to see the first one.
No, but it's
It
good.
definitely helps.
Yeah. Both the same director, James Cameron. Just like you said, I agree. It went from like a sci-fi horror to sci-fi action. The only reason I picked Terminator 2 over Aliens is because I actually like Alien, the original, better than Aliens.
Same. That's
and
weird.
Terminator, I definitely prefer T2 to the original. They're not even close.
No.
And I've always loved this movie. I remember it being one of, if not the first rated R movies I saw in the theater. I loved it as a kid. I love it now. I loved watching it with you guys when you were little. Jet, you were really into it. You were the T-800 for Halloween when you were like 4.
That was dope costume.
I went to like this Halloween party thing
At your school?
preschool with like this shotgun and like sunglasses, and I saw like other kids
The
were
chain
like
of bullets.
other kids were like witches or ghosts
And
or
like
something.
pumpkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember like having a conversation with other adults at that time saying like, am I parenting correctly? Like, this is a questionable choice, but it all worked out. And I mean, let's be honest. A Terminator costume is way cooler than like a, pumpkin
Yeah.
or a ghost or whatever. So I loved watching it with you too when you were little. That's like something that I'll remember. Your grandmother, my mom, she actually put on her listener choices comment that I know Jet would maybe pick Terminator because I know he loved, because I have this video actually. You're telling, I think you were 4, and you were telling, you were wishing Granny a happy birthday, and you're like, I love you, Granny. I know you like the Terminator, or I know you've seen the Terminator, I think is what you said, like in your video, while you're thinking of like positive things about her to say for her birthday. One of those positive things, the first one, was that she'd seen Terminator. So you've just always been a big fan. And I already talked about how this depiction now of the T-800, it's become the one that I'm familiar with. I think most people are familiar with. It's the gold standard of the franchise. It's really taken over as like the centerpiece of it. So in my opinion, it's exceptionally great. It surpassed the original by a lot. It's now considered to be the centerpiece.
What's weird is that
tops my list as number 1 sequel of all time.
Like Terminator gets weaker, in my opinion. Like the T-1000 lost to the T-800, and then the I don't know, what are they on, 5,000 or something? Just gets beat by the T-800 in every movie now. I'm like, when are they gonna like improve on the first one?
Yeah, true. That's true. All right, so that's my number 1. Let's move on. Kay, do you have any
Honorable mention.
No, I think of it, Cars 2.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, Jet, do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I have Aliens, Toy Story 2. Almost made my
How
list.
did that not make your list?
Almost.
You love that movie.
I love Toy
You
Story.
always
2,
talk about that movie.
but it's not top 5 movies sequels of all time.
Agreed, but
Top 10.
Yeah, it could be top worst.
you've
all
often
Toy
said
Stories
that it's
suck.
like one of the greatest movies of all time, period, not just sequels.
It's so good. It improves a lot. It's so underrated.
You're so wrong.
I have Lord of the Rings 2.
Two Towers?
Yeah, it almost made my list, but Harry Potter.
Okay.
I just have more value to it. And Matrix Reloaded.
Okay.
I think those movies get way too much hate.
I agree. I think they're a lot better than people say they are. For mine, I had The Two Towers also, which I really wanted to put on my list, but I didn't because I see Lord of the Rings as one big story. It's not original, sequel, threequel. It's just Lord of the Rings, so I didn't include it. But it's amazing. And we recently rewatched it, Jet, and I really liked The Two Towers a lot more than I remember liking.
I like it the most.
Yeah. Aliens, of course. I had Die Hard 2, which I didn't...
Die Hard 3 is better.
Die Hard, well, I don't know. Maybe, probably, yeah. But it's also, like, Die Hard 2 is very similar to the first movie. It didn't improve it, but I did enjoy it. The one I did not include that I almost subbed in, but I didn't because I thought you would have it, Jet, was The Bourne Supremacy.
I thought about it. I should have put it on honorable mention. I don't know. I just don't think it's good enough to make my top 5, but
Yeah.
it's really good.
And then I had a group of, like, 80s movies, and this is what I was picking from when I pulled in Home Alone 2 for my number 4, even though that's a 90s movie. But from that era of, like, sequels that weren't expected and then ended up being decent or pretty good, I had Back to the Future 2,
Yep.
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey,
I haven't seen that one.
Ghostbusters 2, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Short Circuit 2, and Gremlins 2. And
Short Circuits 2?
yeah, and it's not good, but I love it. It's like so cheesy and bad that it's good. And then I had some others that I liked.
When
but,
did it come out?
Oh, good question. I would guess early 90s. I don't know. Superman 2, Spider-Man 2, and Kill Bill Volume 2 are all sequels that I liked a lot, but didn't make my list.
Oh, Kill Bill Volume 2 is really good.
Yeah, it is. And then some that aren't sequels, by my definition for the list that I thought about were Temple of Doom, Jurassic World, the one with Chris Pratt, I thought was really good.
Pretty great there.
Rocky 4 with Ivan Drago.
The only good Rocky.
Oh, I would have put that on my list for sure if I included things that weren't just part 2. Die Hard with a Vengeance and Prisoner of Azkaban. And then I have like a one I'm looking forward to is Top Gun. Top Gun 2, yeah.
Also scared for.
Yeah, yes. But I am really looking forward to it. All right. So that concludes my honorable mentions. I'm sorry I had so many, but this was a hard list
worst.
for me. Yeah, Arcade, what's your...
The worst.
I have The Last Jedi.
Okay.
And for... Actually, no. I changed it. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, it's Dumb and Dumberer.
That's really bad.
Do you know why? Because that was the first sequel I saw in theater, and I walked out like, man, that was horrible.
Really?
Like that, and I was excited. I watched Dumb and Dumber like the day before, or 2 days before, and I was
Yeah.
excited to go in and watch it.
Mhm.
And like, usually, whenever I watch a movie, even if it's not that good of a sequel, I can still get like encapsulated in the story and like follow along with it and have fun, forgetting that like this is not as good as the first one. You know, like you're not
Yeah.
thinking about the first movie when you're watching the second one.
Yeah.
But man, that movie was so bad. And like
It was horrible.
it really hurt my feelings when I was watching it. I was like, I was excited going into it. I was like, one of my favorite comedy movies, and they
yeah, I agree.
totally just died after that.
Yeah, they killed it.
Like,
And not in a good way.
He played a joke where like 30 years they weren't friends. Like, what the hell?
The first one is dumb. Obviously, it's dumb. It's called Dumb and Dumber, but it's dumb in like a clever way. It's not just dumb.
Like a petty way almost. But like in the second one, like that's not
It's
like a cool
dumb,
prank. Like
stupid.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
My worst, it's horrible. Like, I would never like this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Predator 2.
Even though
now you're lying, Jet.
if I should have pulled this audio.
No, I don't know what I was thinking. It's
You're
honestly,
pretty strong and confident about what you were
not
thinking.
only is it not as good as the first one, it's not that good of a movie in
It's
general.
bad. Yeah,
It's not good.
I agree. All right, my worst. I mean, you guys will get it in like 2 seconds based on the song, but I'm going to play it anyways. Okay, maybe longer than 2 seconds.
Oh, it's is it The Last Jedi?
It's The Last Jedi. Yeah.
Does this count as a sequel?
Well, yeah, I count it as a sequel because each of the trilogies are different enough and intended as a trilogy that it's not... I mean, you could make the argument that they're all sequels to sequels to sequels to the first one, although the prequels came in between, so no, you couldn't. But I'm counting it as a sequel to The Force Awakens, and maybe it's a bend of the rules, but whatever. I don't know. I don't hate this movie. but I kind of do. It's a dark spot for me on what is otherwise my favorite franchise ever. And I really love The Force Awakens. And The Last Jedi just kind of totally derailed what that movie had set up in a lot of ways. And there are some cringeworthy moments like flying Leia in space, but I mostly hated it because of how they treated Luke. Who's the hero.
I think it definitely has a lot of issues, but I think it has some strengths. Some things in it are redeemable.
But
the
there are
bad
some great
stuff
moments.
is really just hard to watch.
Yeah.
Especially as a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I talked to all my friends as soon as The Force Awakens, and everyone was so excited like I was. And then I really heard from my friends after, like, man, that was not good.
Yeah.
And I was like, it kind of sucked hearing
just
Star
killed-
Wars fans not being, like, fans of a movie.
And the thing is, like, I mean, there's always going to be hate when it comes to Star Wars, and The Force Awakens had its share of hate too, but people still loved it. So Rogue One, and I know you hate Rogue One, Jet, but it was gigantic in the box office, like bigger than expected, because there was so much momentum for Star Wars. They carried that into The Last Jedi, and it totally killed that. Solo tanked, and then even though it was a pretty good
Solo
movie,
was good, too.
Solo was good.
I love Solo.
And then the Rise of Skywalker, which had its faults too, mostly because of The Last Jedi, in my opinion. But it also didn't meet box office expectations. The Last Jedi killed the franchise in a lot of ways,
The
at
only
least
thing
in a
that kept-
theatrical sense. We have the TV series now.
That's the only
Doing
thing
great.
that's keeping Star Wars alive.
Yeah. So The Last Jedi is mine for sure. I did have some others I considered, like Dumb and Dumber, or all of the Batman sequels in every Batman iteration.
The Dark Knight.
Yeah. I don't hate it, but I do think it's overrated. Predator 2. One of them you guys didn't mention that I had on my worst in case it didn't come up was the Squeakquel. Alvin and the
so
Chipmunks,
sad.
the Squeakquel.
What about Chipwrecked?
That's a third installment, so I
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's
have considered it.
It's great.
All right. So that was my worst. Let's move on to our... Oh, we have to do... Listener choices. So we asked social media, what is your favorite sequel? And we got a lot of responses. We had 92 votes. Do you guys have any guesses what you think number one was?
Terminator 2.
You're correct. Number one was Terminator 2. There were some others that...
Is Aliens 2?
Aliens... number two was a tie between Back to the Future 2
I'm surprised.
and The Empire Strikes Back. And then tied for third, or fourth, I guess, would be Aliens, Home Alone 2, and The Dark Knight. But yeah, Terminator 2.
How is Empire not 1? That's surprising to me.
I don't know. I was surprised The Godfather was a number one, to be honest.
I feel like way more people like the first one than the second one.
For The Godfather? I don't know. I think more people like the second one better.
No. The first one's number 1 on IMDb.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's number 2.
Yeah.
Godfather Part 2 is number 3. So
Yeah.
it's behind.
Yeah, but IMDb isn't everything.
Yeah.
All right, so listener choices say that Terminator 2 is the best sequel of all time. Let's do the...
Pew pew pew
Good.
pew
Glenn Solomon fun fact of the week.
pew pew pew
Good.
pew.
So I chose to go back to the 80s for the fun fact because, like I said before, sequels were different back then and more fit into the idea for my list. This was actually... We talked before about how kind of everything is a sequel now. To prove that, in 2014, somewhat recently... The top 15 grossing movies for the year, top 15 were either sequels, remakes, or adaptations.
Really?
Yeah. You had to go all the way to number 16, which was Interstellar, to find a movie that was original. So everything now is like a sequel in
Planned
some
sequel.
sense of the word, yeah, or of the meaning of the word. So I went back to one of our favorite franchises, Back to the Future, which has an incredible original installment to start it off. One of the top movies from the 80s, and frankly, maybe one of the top 10 movies of all time, the original Back to the Future. So the fun fact for that is that, do you know at the very end of the first movie when Doc and Marty fly off and it says, "To be continued," that "to be continued" wasn't there when it was in
original.
theaters. And the end of the end scene wasn't meant to tease a real sequel. It was just a joke by Robert Zemeckis, the director. After the movie had a lot of success and a sequel was planned, the "to be continued" was added for the home release, which I thought was kind of
cool.
interesting.
Although that
yeah.
story definitely... I know it's not intended to have a sequel, but it definitely seems like it should have a sequel.
Yeah.
Where they ended it.
Yeah.
Like, they can't just end things there.
Off to their next adventure.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the intended ending.
I never have it on anymore.
I I know, but you need to for this.
It's time for Jet's Pun of the Week.
Did you come up with one this time?
Yeah.
You had a week to prepare.
I don't have one now, but you'll have to wait till the next sequel.
Oh my god. I think you just made that up right now.
No, I
And-
didn't. Give me a clap. Or the good job.
Give him the poop. Give him the poop. I love pooping. Yeah.
It was good.
Good job.
I gave you a good job. Reluctantly. I did have a backup this time.
Let's hear it.
What?
Have you heard the sequel to 2020 has been postponed? 2022 won't be arriving for at least a year.
That's
Mine's
pretty
better.
good.
Yours is basically mine.
I didn't make mine up, though. I looked it up.
I made mine up.
Yeah, I could tell. All right, is there anything else you guys want to add before we move on?
No.
Nope.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for listening. Write us at 521podcast@gmail.com. Call us, 469-607-521. That's 469-607-5861. Go leave us a review on iTunes. And I had an idea for our next episode, and I think it's a good one.
What?
I think we should, everybody should join us next time on 521 for our discussion on little things that make us happy.
I like that.
Okay.
You good with that one?
Yep.
All right.
Love you.